So, also pain. I'm very into pain these days. Not necessarily.
Sounds like, ooh, it's a pleasure. Pain is pleasure.
It's like, no. Well, what I mean by that is, well, just close this here. Well, I'm more into pain these days because I think it plays a role in my compassion levels. Like at the panel for Whiskey's event for the love of our men, I brought up at the end, like the closing remarks, I mentioned how I'm always intrigued by like who hurt you or what hurt you, like what happened in your life that made you the way you are. Why do you look at this type of person a certain way? Did you experience something? Because I think pain really shapes our vision, like our lens. Like when you start looking at certain people, like if you got bit by a dog at 5 and you had to get stitches, like your lens toward dogs is a little more fearful than the average person, or cautious. So yeah, how do you think pain plays a role from like being a kid and not having experienced that much pain, or like in childhood we experience pain that kind of shapes who we become as an adult?
Right. I feel like pain 100% shapes who you become just because you learn from experience.
Yes.
So you have to protect yourself. Like you don't want to keep causing yourself the same pain. Like that doesn't make sense. So I'm not going to keep putting myself in a situation where I'm stepping on a rusty nail if I know it hurts. Like I did that once and I learned my lesson.
Right.
So pain, of course, is going to shape who you become. I don't know.
I think it's, you do know. You just said it. Yeah, so from there, I think we'll go to spiritual sensitivity. I had an experience as a kid, and I don't really go to church now, and it's not like, nothing like really traumatic happened to me. But I remember around the age of 10, I was sitting in the audience at church, and I remember watching everybody like praise and worship, and I'm like, oh wow, you know. And my dad's like up next to me, he's clapping his hands, and I'm like, oh, okay, all right. And I'm just I was very observant as a kid. Everything I wanted to like watch the people more than I wanted to listen to the sermon. That's why I got bored. But now I realize, like in meetings, I would just watch the audience. So, speaking of spiritual sensitivity, I remember watching everyone worship, and the elder on the pulpit, he was just kind of standing there, and like I didn't feel like he was worshiping God. I felt like all the praise was going to him, and I didn't really get a good vibe. And as a kid, I followed that, and I was like, I don't want to go back to that church. Like, and I remember making that decision as a child. So yeah, we're talking about like spiritual sensitivity and like how our parents basically tell us who we are and who we're supposed to be. So how does that change when we get older? And how do we kind of like nip it? Like, okay, this is who you told me to be, but this is who I'm exploring myself as.
I just feel like as you get older, like in your 20s, you figure out what you want to do because you're away from your parents at some point, hopefully. Yeah. Hopefully.
I think it's so healthy to make sure you give yourself that opportunity.
Yeah, and once you're away from them, you pretty much have to learn things on your own. Like they can't teach you everything you need to know. So I just feel like getting away from everybody, being alone, and exploring who you are definitely helps.
Yes, because their influence is so strong.
Yeah, for some people.
Yeah, that is true.
Sometimes you gotta be stubborn.
Yeah.